Hi, I'm Dave from JamPlay, and in this lesson we will be talking about how to develop a strum pattern. Now, in previous lessons we discussed the Travis picking method, and this song incorporates it quite heavily. Now, one of the ideas that I want to mention before we go into the strumming pattern is actually how to go from more of a picking pattern into a strumming pattern. One of the things that will be helpful for this is the pick. We showed two different variations, one that included the thumb, tricky thing about that, and there's lots of different methodologies to this, either to hold the pick here and try to grab it once you get to the chorus, or put it right here, or put it on your leg. A lot of times that's just not conducive for the environment you're in. So one of the things I like to do with this method is incorporate the pick. So we're going to incorporate here. Go into the pre-chorus. Slowly build into the chorus. So that's just something to be aware of as we go into this chorus. That's something that's a little bit troublesome sometimes when you're going in a song and it's traveling between two different styles of strumming and picking, just to watch those transitions. Okay? Now as we make our way into the actual chorus of this song, it's going to be played like this. I'm just going to give the example of how it's played once more as we did in the introduction, and then kind of go back through and show you how I developed that strum pattern. So what you first do when you look at a strum pattern is you kind of look at it and break it down into its barest form, which this is based on 8th notes or 16th notes, depending on how you want to look at it. And those 8th notes or 16th notes are accented on certain beats. So when we go here, if we were to fill in all of the different sections of this strum pattern, before we add all the flavor and some of the stops and different things like that, the accents sound very much like this. And so what I did there was I just slowly played through adding all of the 8th notes or all the 16th notes there. So I just did that 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a 1E and 2E and a 1E and a 2E and a 1E and a 2E. Now when you strip actually all of those notes away, you start first leaving space. So instead of playing all the notes, I'm going to keep my hand moving in a down-up formation, keeping it consistent, but I'm slowly going to remove the notes I don't want. So I got the 16th pattern going. And how that'd be counted is a 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a... And so I slowly just showed you where those accents are. Now I'm going to keep my hand moving there, and I'm going to take out the ones I don't want. And I just left space. And so that allows me to fall into a natural rhythm of my hand moving down up. One of the things that I see a lot when I see rhythm players play is a real inconsistency with how their hand moves. It's not natural. They stop and pause their hand and move up and down in different places. Well, if you've got your hand moving, you just slowly stab in and stab out where you want it to sound and where you don't want it to sound. And so your hand just naturally falls into a down, up, down, up, down, down, up, down. Up, down, up, down, down, up. And then I can throw in various things, like I threw in just a little bit of a chuck. I'm not throwing it on my hand there, I'm just kind of dropping my palm just to add a little bit of a... And there I'm dropping the chuck on 2. So I got a 1E and a 2E and 1E and a 2E and then when it gets to the G chord, or with the capo on, this is going to sound like a D chord. We go to a 1E and a 2E and a 1E and a 2E and a 1E and a so there's a combination between time and space. There's times where you're playing and there's times where you're leaving space out. The hardest thing is getting this actually to groove. Now, one of the things that might be helpful with playing rhythm is actually to fill in the spaces with a drum beat or a metronome when you're actually playing. One of the hardest things to be done when you're playing rhythm and starting out is subdividing. When you're not playing notes, it's hard to get them to fall and make sense. And we'll cover that when we talk a little bit more about pocket later. But it's hard to feel space. And sometimes if you can put on a metronome or you can put on a beat, you can play the space for you, and then it allows you to feel it in time. So we're going to do that. We're going to put the metronome at about 73, just a simple drum beat, and it'll fill in kind of those gaps. So I got the hi-hat in there and the snare drum. They're kind of filling in some of that space. So what that beat allows me to do is kind of feel the rhythm. It's giving me notes for the space that I'm leaving. And that's the hardest thing to do when you play rhythm. And so what you want to do is just kind of feel it out and then take away the metronome, take away the beat, and see if you can keep that. That's called subdividing. That's going to take place in your head while you're playing that, and that actually helps with groove. So there's two big parts to playing in rhythm. Is forming the rhythm first by laying the bass foundation with those accents. Slowly drop out the ones you don't want, and then add in your flavor elements. In this case, it was an easy, simple chuck just to make it a little more interesting. And then take it and play along with a metronome or play along with a beat pattern and allow yourself to kind of feel where you're playing and where you're not playing and make sure everything's in time. Then strip away all that and see if you can put all the elements together. And this gives you kind of an easy primer just to start playing rhythm, getting a natural strum pattern, and you're on your way to developing your own patterns for yourself.